Welcome back to another episode of Plan Voodoo. I'm your host Derek, and today I'll be recounting my 5 favorite moments of the episode for Australian Survivor Heroes vs. Villains, episode 10. Let's get straight to it. So for those of you that didn't watch episode 9, the Heroes Tribe went to tribal council, the newly formed Heroes Tribe, and George had an idol played on him by Shawnee, which saved him from a revote happening, and Paige went home. So now, presumptively, the new Heroes Tribe has Shawnee, George, Stevie, and Jerry as a tight-knit 4, and then the other 3 being Matt, Flick, and Benji. So, the episode starts out. This is my number 5 moment of episode 10, Australian Survivor Heroes vs. Villains. So the episode starts out with Shawnee expounding on her great position with the tribe. She's now getting 5-star treatment. She's great. She's great television. George is feeling glorious. He now has a control of the numbers, as I just mentioned. Those 4 are tight-knit, it seems like, and the other 3 are presumptively going to be the next ones to go. And we see those 3 panicking, and there's an effort to make inroads within that 4. So like Ben, we saw early on intruding on the chat between George and Stevie, saying that his vote was fear-based. Neither George nor Stevie bought that. Additionally, we saw both Flick and Matt offering loyalty to George and company, saying that they would serve as a double agent for George and Shawnee, saying that they do have allegiances and alliances on the other tribe. However, they know that might not be. Their pitch was wild, to say the least. I anticipate George probably going with and sticking with Benji moving forward. We'll see. I mean, Flick and Matt, those are interesting offers, but I honestly don't see them working as a double agent. For George and Shawnee, if anything, it'll be a double agent the other way, with basically Flick and Matt relaying the information to the other heroes, that being like Sean, Haley, and the others. So that's my number 5 moment of the episode. At number 4, starts with the reward challenge. So the villains, the newly formed villains, are surprised that Paige is gone. It's floated out there that an idol was played. The game's getting started. Essentially, those heroes, they've been playing quite slow from what we've seen, and starting to ramp up a bit, hopefully. And I like this reward challenge. It's a fun one. We've seen this over other Australian Survivor seasons as well as U.S. Survivor seasons. Classic. I love the ability to substitute your players in and out. However, they must forfeit their weight to another player on their team during the challenge. So it provides not only a physical element to the challenge, but a strategic element at that. When do you push yourself to go faster? When do you tap out for one of your players? Who do you give your weight to? So on and so on. So it's a fun and interesting challenge. However, like we previously stated, the Villains Tribe is stacked physically. So the challenge it was easy. It was too easy for them. They won each round they had pretty handily. Their best effort was definitely the first round for the Heroes Tribe. But the challenge was overshadowed by what we saw going on in the background between Liz and Shawnee. Liz tells Shawnee that she feels exposed and she misses her so much that she can't get along with any of the newly formed heroes, which is mostly former heroes. And so they have their back and forth. We also see Flick talking with Nina behind the flag. I'm not sure what went on there. But Shawnee tells Liz about the idol play, what went down last tribal, and that she can give her another idol if she feels unsafe. So like I just mentioned, the newly formed Villains Tribe wins the reward. And what happens at the reward? I mean, they're all eating their breakfast items, and it's an interesting thing. So Liz, she mentioned she feels at the bottom of the pack. And since they've formed their new tribes after the tribe swap last episode, she's just kind of been hanging out by herself and not really bonding with the other people on her tribe. And it gave her a situation in which she would have time to look for an idol. I never thought that is something that could be used advantageously, but she did find it in her case, and you know what she did? She found the hidden immunity idol. Yes, Liz found the hidden immunity idol. The Spice Girls are the best idol seekers on this season of Australian Survivor. George has found one, Shawnee's found two, and Liz has now found one. So Liz needs help, though. She knows that her and Jordy are at the bottom. She tells Jordy about the idol, shows it to him, and pretty much tells Jordy that Shawnee has another idol that if we need it, we can ask it for her at the challenge. And that's what happens. We go to the immunity challenge, and again, the challenge is kind of overshadowed by seeing Liz and Shawnee speaking to each other one-on-one. Liz talks about needing the idol if they lose at the challenge, and to pass it to Jordy, who will be holding the flag if need be. You know what happens? The Heroes tribe wins immunity. Yes, we've been saying this new supervillains tribe is unbeatable, but they lost the challenge, and the Heroes tribe won. Thus, meaning that Liz and Jordy are on the chopping block. So what happens? Liz passes the hidden immunity idol to Jordy. I thought Flick might have seen it. We didn't get any indication that she did, but it looked like she could have seen it. And this leads me into my number 3 moment of the episode. So why do Jordy and Liz fill in the bottom? Well, they went into this tribe swap with 8 people. It was 5 heroes and 3 villains. Well, who's the other villain? The other villain is Simon. So Simon is really, really trying to be friends and work with the heroes that he's now on the same tribe with, leaving Jordy and Liz at the bottom. So we see, this is prior to the immunity challenge, that they want to pull Simon in. They really do. And essentially, their way of pulling Simon in is to put it kindly, extort him for his hidden immunity idol, which is not real. But yeah, that's their way of pulling him in as a number. And so we see Sam and Simon speak about this, and Simon's all for it. He's happy to sit at the bottom. He wants to go deep with the Heroes tribe. On one condition, though, at the time, he said his idol is going to go to Sean. And Simon, he's pinching himself, he said, working with Sean, someone that he watched on his initial season of Australian Survivor. And he's willing to do anything. And honestly, Simon comes up with a good plan to further solidify his bond with the new heroes, saying that he wants to give his new idol, which, again, I'll repeat, a fake idol that Simon doesn't know is fake. He wants to give it to Flick to use against George. Yes, George, who was on the initial villains tribe with Simon. So that's just further solidifying how he feels and how he wants to maneuver in this game moving forward. He tells that to both Haley and Sean, saying, let's do that. And Haley's questioning the idol. Simon pulls it out, and she's like, did it come with a note? Is it an idol nullifier? He says no to both, and she goes along with it, but she's asking the real hard-hitting questions that need to be asked, because Simon, you do not have a real hidden immunity idol. I'm sorry to tell you that. And he does the Dark Knight quote along the lines of, you either see yourself die a villain or live long enough to see yourself become the hero. So he flips it on its head, which is ironic because later on in this episode, it's going to revolve a lot around the Joker, as Jordy has been dubbed. And yeah, that's kind of what we saw going on with Simon and the other heroes back at the villains camp. So after the challenge, we see David tell Flick the plan that Simon's gonna I guess Simon's idol will be given to her, and it's her choice to use at her discretion to try to make a move against George. And then we see Simon, after the challenge, tells Stevie to vote with Flick. And then additionally, David tells Flick to play into working with Stevie, saying this is your destiny to make this move and make a triangle out of his fingers on his chest with using your fingers and put it on your chest, something along those lines. Yeah, I really much enjoy this chatter after and between challenges. We don't really see this in US Survivor. I know they do converse, but it's just not something that the US Survivor shows, unfortunately. But this episode, it was very apparent and very crucial for what went down this episode in my interpretation. So this leads me into my number 2 moment of the episode. So Jordy has never had an idol before, and he wants to talk with Haley and Nina and show them both the idols. That's his plan. He went over it with Liz and wants to put them in a spot, saying this is your chance to work with us. Who would you like to vote out? But at the end of the day, he doesn't want to play his idols. That's a big hint on what might go down the rest of the episode. So what happens? Liz and Jordy are talking with Nina and Haley about the idols, and their reactions kind of say it all. A lot of expletives thrown out there by both women. Kind of shows that they didn't expect both of them to have idols, but also shows their cards that they were probably going to vote for them, which is obvious on its face. And yeah, Jordy, the Joker, gets his plan into motion. Nina says she doesn't want David gone. That kind of gives us a hint that those two are closely aligned. We haven't seen much of that. We also see Haley tell Sean of what Jordy's cooking, that they both have real idols and that they want to vote out Sam. And Nina gives David the same rundown. So additionally, Haley and Sean looks to be like a duo that are working together within the Heroes tribe. We've seen a bit of that, so I'm not surprised by that. But what I am surprised about is that the Heroes, they didn't really play this correctly at the start. They did at Tribal. They did not play this correctly prior to Tribal Council. David suggests then just flipping it on Simon, and then possibly the other two just flush their idols. I think that's a smart move. That's the best move to do. Sean said he couldn't do it because he swore on his kids. That's his own thing. But I do think that was the move to make from that point, was to ensure that those 5 stayed safe. And they didn't have a plan to keep those 5 safe. They really didn't. So what they agreed upon is saying that Sean, Nina, Haley, and David, those 4, would vote Sam. It doesn't matter what anyone else does. We know that Sam's going to go home at that point. So that was the plan leading into Tribal Council. And boy, this leads me into my number 1 moment of the episode, another electric Tribal Council from Australian Survivor. So we see during Tribal Council, Sam and Nina staring each other down. Essentially, Nina confirming to Sam that they both have idols. Liz is picking up on this. She tells Jordy that Sam is looking at Nina during Tribal. That should have sent some red flags, and maybe that they shouldn't enact the entirety of the plan, which was to not play either idol, in which we see that they don't, but to possibly play at least one of their idols. And then we see Sean, finally someone from the Heroes tribe. Finally someone from the Heroes tribe that is making a move and playing very strategically. So he tells Haley and Nina, stick with the plan, vote for Sam, assuming that both Jordy and Liz will also vote for Sam. That's 4 votes. And Sean says he will pull in Simon, David, and Sam to throw 4 votes onto Jordy so that if Jordy doesn't play his idol, there's a revote, and then Jordy will go home. Brilliant. Fine. Yeah, brilliant. I love it. Sean, you're the one hero that's kind of out front playing a very strategic game. I very much enjoy it. And I see Haley kind of using him as a shield. And not only that, what I find about this plan being brilliant, he's not the one putting Sam's name down. So I get that Sam is kind of being used as a vote to ensure that none of them go home. But you know who doesn't get the blood on their hands? Sean. Because who didn't vote Sam? Sean didn't. It was both Haley and Nina. So Haley and Nina are going to have to do some, I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to have to put in some work to build that trust back with Sam because he copped their votes, and we'll see if he wants to continue work with them moving forward. So we see during all of this going down, Sean getting up and talking to the boys, talking to the girls. We see Jordy tell Liz, stick to the plan, don't get rattled, and tells Liz that he's not going to play his idol. And he even reiterates that at the voting station, saying he's not playing the idol, that this is a trust exercise. It was a power move. It was a bold move at that from the Joker. However, it was a move that led to his demise, in which we see the vote tied 4-4, and Jordy is sent home on a revote with only 1 vote against Sam on the revote, that being from Liz. And we see Jordy go home with the idol. He pulls it out around his chest. It's unfortunate. Shawnee's idol that was given to Jordy is now just gone, not being used. You hate to see it. And Liz is distraught. She knows that she's definitely on the bottom now. So where does that leave us? Wow. What an episode, honestly. I don't want to speculate too much about what's going to happen. We saw the preview. Possibly the Heroes Tribe throwing the challenge with George and Shawnee to ensure that Liz doesn't go home and that they can send either maybe one of Flick or Matt home. I don't want to speculate too much. That episode is going to be fireworks as well. This season's been great so far. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to follow us on Twitter at PlanVoodooPod. Like the video, subscribe wherever you're listening, either YouTube or Spotify. We really appreciate the support. And this is Plan Voodoo, in this case, where a split vote was in fact the safe option.